Hi everyone, this is the Perspective with Viv podcast. My name is Viv and this is the show. Today's title is How to Design Your Life with Mappineering, featuring John Diggs. John Diggs is a Mappineering mentor and the creator of the I Am Mind Map system, a transformative approach to personal development that combines mind mapping with powerful self-discovery techniques. He's dedicated to helping people live and love their best lives by using their own unique blueprint for health, wealth, success, and happiness through the power of Mappineering. John has
Yeah.
guided individuals from students and athletes to parents and professionals in gaining clarity, building resilience, and achieving extraordinary results. Get ready to dig deep into how we can all use mind maps to better understand who we are, set purposeful goals, and unlock our potential. Let's welcome John Diggs on the show. Hi, John!
Hi, Miss Viv. Thank you for having me. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I
It's my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for our conversation because I was like, what is Mappineering? I just love anything that has to do with the mind. So I'm ready
Yes.
to dive into the questions. Let's begin.
Yeah, let's
Now,
do it.
John, your story is extraordinary, by the way. From the
Thank you.
NFL to one of the biggest personal reinventions we've heard. Can you take us back to 2008, the couch, and the light bulb moment that led you to Mappineering?
Oof. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, like you said, I played professional football, born and raised in LA, played
Ooh,
college football, played professional football. After retiring, transitioned into the mortgage business, built a pretty big mortgage company for myself in Los Angeles in the early 2000s, all the way up to 2008. 2007 really is when the mortgage meltdown hit, but the recession hit in 2008, and I literally lost everything that I ever loved, owned, and identified with during the mortgage meltdown. I mean, my business, my house, my cars, my wife, my kids, everything was
wow.
gone during that low part of my life. And I was forced to move back to my mother's house. And when I did, I took with me a gym bag full of gym clothes, mountain bike, and this big box that was full of motivational books, CDs, and tapes and things that I've accumulated over the years. I knew I had to go back into that box to rebuild my life because
Mm,
at this point, it was the lowest point of my life ever. You know, having had the highs of professional football and made more money in business than I did as a professional football player, living like this millionaire lifestyle to basically forced to live at my mom's house. I mean, it was really a bad part of my life. So I knew I had to go back and rebuild myself. So I took that big box full of, Think and Grow Rich, Unlimited Power, all of the most successful self help books that I read before. I knew I had to revisit those to figure out
mm,
what I was going to do with my life next. But as I started going through this box, there was this one book in there called the Mind Map book by Tony Buzan. I don't remember buying it myself. I think somebody must have given it to me or something. I never read it, but at this point, it resonated with me. So that was the first book I read. And from there, I made the most powerful decision I ever made, really, in my life to that point. And that was to mind map all of the contents of that box. And as I spent 3 months of all day, every day mind mapping the contents of that box, it literally transformed my life in such that I went from homeless to my mom's to making a great 6-figure income in less than 8 months. And it was
wow.
primarily because of what mind mapping was enabling me to do with the clarity and things of that nature. And since then, I've been using mind mapping since 2010 primarily to transform my life. For now, I'm one of the top mortgage software developers in the country for the last 15
Ooh,
years. When COVID hit and we were quarantined, I decided to start writing books and sharing this mind mapping, the power of mind mapping with the world. And since COVID, I've written 10 books. I've become an international best-selling author. I did a TEDx talk, by the way. Yeah, I did a TEDx talk that really kind of goes deeper into my story of transformation with mind mapping. So if you and any of your listeners really want to know that full story, it's on YouTube, TEDx John Diggs. You'll
yeah.
find it. Kind of
Okay.
goes into it. But since then, I've just been really passionate about helping people love and live their best life with this tool that's transformed my life. And
Mm,
essentially, a mind map is just it's a visual information management tool. meaning that whatever it is you're thinking about or need to think about, a mind map is a way for you to visually see it, what you're thinking about. Most people, we have so many thoughts and things going through our minds with decisions and problems and goals and whatever's going through our mind. A mind map, I have not found a better tool that will help you actually structure what you're thinking about so you can get greater perspective on it, to
Wow.
make better decisions, to solve problems faster, to really have a roadmap for the goals that you're trying to achieve. So that's where I've been really passionate about since what, 5-6 years now. It's been my divine calling just to share this message with everybody who may need a tool like this to really get clarity on things that are swirling in their minds. And it's been doing I've been having some great results with clients and people that I've been working with. And yeah, and I'm just excited to just share it with as many people as possible, which I'm so grateful that, which is why I'm so grateful you had me on your show today. So thank you for being here, or for
It's my
allowing me to be.
pleasure. Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for being here as well. I'm really excited to hear more about this because from what you've said, mind
Yeah.
map is me having thoughts and me thinking about so many things, and then I just put it in a visual
Hmm.
diagram
Hmm.
to get widen perspective, to
Hmm.
make better decisions, to be
Hmm.
aligned, take the
Yep.
best course of action in line with my higher self. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So how is Mappineering different from a traditional version
I'm
of this?
Great question. Over the years of me digging into this mind mapping world around the world and meeting various people, authorities, I guess you can say, around the world, I've found that I'm the only one that's really teaching mind mapping and promoting it as a personal development tool.
Hmm.
Most people use mind mapping for brainstorming,
Yeah.
note taking, project management. Those who have heard of mind mapping, which many still haven't heard of it at all, but those who have heard of it primarily use it for one of those three reasons: brainstorming,
Mm.
note taking, project management. Where I'm using it more as a personal development tool where people can really get clear, not just on who they are, but clear on how to make good personal decisions, solve problems, and all of those things that you can use it on a personal level. That's why I said, you know what, I want to have a term for my style of how I use it, which is where Mappineering comes from, which basically stands for engineering beautiful mind maps to love your life more, essentially. So
Ah,
that's where Mappineering comes in from. And I've
that's
been
beautiful.
developing so many different mind map tools, courses, and keynotes just to really help people on a personal level. And one of the things I could share with you now is for your audience that I think is very simple but very powerful. It's called the 5 W's plus 1 H mind map. And how that looks is that, say you're trying to resolve a problem, right? So you could take really just a blank piece of paper, a napkin, a pen, or a crayon. It doesn't really matter what you're using, but you can put in the center of this paper, just put the title of the problem that you're dealing with, whatever you
Mm.
want to title it, problem with my ex, or trying to leave I don't like my job, or a dispute with a family member, whatever that is. Just put the title in the middle. Then once you put that in the middle of your paper, then around that middle you want to put who, what, where, when, why, and how, which is the 5 W's and H's, and all of them are connecting to the center of the main topic of your problem. Then now you just ask yourself some very thought-provoking questions about who's involved with this problem,
Mm.
who needs to be involved with this problem, who shouldn't be involved with this problem, who can I contact to help me with this problem. So any who questions you have, you just add that to your map, and just short phrases or keywords. Now you move to what, what's really going on with this problem? What could happen? What should happen? Then you keep going through, where is this problem happening? When is it happening? You're asking all of these questions. Why is it happening? Then you move to how, how do I resolve it? How is this occurring? once you complete this whole exercise, again, which is what I do a lot with my one-on-one and group coaching, and I got courses around all this stuff. But once you actually complete this whole process and you step back and look at your mind map, Viv, always, yes, always, the answer to your problem reveals itself, because now you can see it from 10,000 foot. You can see all of the key components of the problem in a way that you never would have been able to see it if it was just swirling in your mind. Now
Yeah.
you see all the particulars of the problem,
Wow.
which gives you the confidence that you are making the right decision on how to proceed and address the problem.
Mm.
And I've been coaching people around this for about 5, 6 years now. And it's amazing because people come to me and they're so intense, stressed out over the problem. But then when I walk them through this exercise, you can see their energy just totally just subsides and release, because
Mm.
now the problem is not a chaotic thing inside of them. Now it's a structured map outside of them. So it's like they got it out of themselves, and now they can look at it like a third person position and be like, all right, what do I do?
Yeah.
And it's so easy, to know what to do. And it always illuminates itself what your next best step should be with dealing with that problem when you go through that exercise.
Yes.
And it's not
Thank you.
just problems, because you can put decision in the middle and do the same thing. Who, what, where, when, and why about the decision, goals, all of that process there, anything you got to think about, you can do that 5 W's and H, just to get greater clarity on what it is you're thinking about, to make sure you're making an informed decision about how to handle that thing versus it just swirling in your mind and you not knowing what to do.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. Can you share something powerful, like an example of a particular work you did with a particular client that was very profound?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have a kid that was really struggling with a relationship with his father.
Mm.
And we mapped it out. We just
Wow.
mapped it out: who, what, when, where, why, and how. And just the questions I was being able to ask him about, who is your father? Who would you like him to be? Who is he not? All of the who questions. And we went to what is actually happening, what could happen, or what should happen. What would you like to happen instead of that other result? Then we went to, where is it happening? Is it always around football? He's a football player and his father's really hard on him about football.
Mm.
So it's like, where is it happening? And, when does it normally happen? Why do you think it's happening? Do you think that he's just being a jerk, or is it because
Mm.
he loves you and he really wants the best for you?
Mm.
What are some of these, so I just ask him a lot of powerful questions. And his father just called me Monday. In fact, this was a last week conversation. His father called me Monday and said, hey, I don't know what you did with my son, but we are like in a great place, because
Mm.
his son started, by that process, his son no longer was resenting his father for his desire for his son to excel. He
Mm.
realized that his father may not have had the right approach, because his approach could have been better to motivate his son, but he wasn't resisting his dad so much anymore, because he realized that his father really loved him and just wanted the best for him, and he couldn't really see that when it was just in his head. But once we really mapped it out, he really understood that his father had good intentions, and he realized, based on the work we did and the clarity that he now has about that relationship, that he can change how he's approaching and dealing and responding to his dad, which will ultimately change his dad approach.
Mm.
And it transformed their relationship to such, so now they're more partners in developing his career, versus him feeling like he's been a dictator, and being forced to do something. Now it's like a team that they created to reach the goal. And that clarity is what mind mapping gave him. He would
Mm.
have never been able to see his dad in the light that he sees him now if it was just information in his head. But now that he has all of that, the key components, and he can visually see it, especially today, nowadays, with so many visual people, and these kids nowadays are so visually stimulated that this visual tool is like something that really they connect to. It resonates with them. I can see something now versus thinking about something in theory. Well, you should do this. You should do that. You should do that. Well, why? I don't know, but do it. But now it's like, all right, you should do that. Let's map that out so you can see the intent behind that why, so you can understand it better, make adjustments, and embrace, that coaching that his dad is giving him. His dad is a good guy, but he just, he wants his best for his son, and he's just, kind of vicariously living through his son. But so that's just one example. But the big difference that I've really been having the most impact in is the most powerful mind map of all. And there's mind maps. You can literally make a mind map for anything you're thinking about, like I said. But I've come to realize and believe that the biggest one, or the most important one, that everyone should make is called the I am mind map. And that's the I am mind map that I created back when I was in my mother's, because the first 3 months that I was at my mom's house, I mind mapped all of those books, like I said. And I walked away with two key distinctions, from that process. What mind mapping does, for one, let me just back up real quick. When I was mind mapping those books, it stimulated a couple things that I didn't know then that I know now that really transformed my life. The first was active learning. When most people read books, it's more passive. You're just sitting back reading information. You may underline something or highlight something. But when you're mind map a book, you're actually looking for keywords and short phrases from that paragraph or chapter to actually add to your mind map. So that causes you to be more engaged with the material than you were as just sitting back, just reading it. Because now you're really like, all right, out of this paragraph I just read, what is the key word or key phrase I can take out of it to add to my mind map? So you're more connected to the information, which causes you to learn more. But then also at the same time, it stimulates what is called meaningful learning, because as you take that information and put it on your mind map, you start to connect that new information with information All right, so I read like Tony Robbins stuff was talking about, certain things, and I would put it on my mind map, and I was like, well, how does that really apply to my life? Or how do I, take action on what I just learned? That was a very powerful piece I just put on my mind map, but what does it really mean to me? So you take that new information, combined it with the previous information, which technically is called meaningful learning. You really learn things deeper. So when I was going through all of this process, the information in that it was resonating so deep with me that I took away two big things that all of those people were talking about. And one was that life is meant to be loved. Life is meant to be loved. That's all they're really talking about. I mean, any thought leader, prophet, from Jesus to Muhammad to Tony Robbins to Martin Luther King to Desmond Tutu, whoever you want to talk about, all of they're basically is saying is that life is meant to be love, and they're just giving their perspective on how to do it. If you follow this religion, you should help you love your life more. If you follow this process, should help you love life more. So mind mapping gave me that awareness that that's really what the self-help industry is really all about, is to help people love and live their best lives. So I realized that. But then the second one is that it's up to me. I'm in control of my life. I'm in control of what love and life means to me. Love and life to me may mean something completely different to you and everybody else. So I need to get clear on what love and life means to me and who I need to be to actually love my life. So the first 3 to 4 months of my mom's house, I spent doing those books. But the second 3 to 4 months of that time at my mom's, I started developing my I am mind map. And all I did was grab a blank piece of paper and just put in the middle, I am. Then I really started thinking about, who am I? What's most important to me? Not on a surface level, but deep to my soul. What are really the most important key components in my life? And I landed on 4 key topics, and it was health. There's nothing more important than health. So I put that on my mind map. So I had I am, then I put health. Then
Mm.
I started thinking about what else is more important. And I said wealth. I want wealth. Then I put success. I want to be successful, and I want to be happy. If I can achieve all of those four components, I'm going to be loving and living my best life. But
Okay.
then the natural process with mind mapping is that when you have those things on there, you want to keep going down that rabbit hole. What does health mean to me? Health is so general. What does that mean? So I started thinking about that. And I said spiritual health, physical health, mental health. So I added those to my mind map. Then I went down to wealth. Is wealth really just about money? Well, I had money before, lots of money, and I can't say I was truly happy.
Mm.
So what else does wealth mean? And wealth ultimately means an abundance of something. You want a lot of something. So I said, well, is there anything that I want a lot of that's more important than money? Then it just rang true to me that it was positive emotions. I want to just feel a abundance of great emotions. I also want an abundance of skills, because I feel, I realize that if I have an abundance of skills and an abundance of knowledge in a specific skill, money's going to come. If you do that, then freedom. I want an abundance of freedom. Then I went to success side of it, and I said, what does success mean? That's so broad. What do I want to be successful in? Then I landed on successful relationships, results, and rewards. Then I look at happiness. What do I need to be? What does happiness mean? Then I broke that down to being blessed for my past, grateful for my future, and fulfilled in the present. So
Mm.
now I had this big mind map of all of the things. And again, I just kind of highlighted it very fast, but it took like months of hours and hours and hours of really asking myself some very powerful questions, looking in the mirror, and really getting clear with this. And it's what I landed on. So as I started to get clear with this, I started to create action items that I needed to do every day to achieve those results.
Mm.
What do I need to do to be spiritually healthy, mentally healthy? What do I need to do to improve my skill set today? What do I need to do to improve to have successful relationships? So as I started working through all of that, I started vibrating in a different way, and things started transforming for me. And that's what I've been experiencing with all of my clients now, because that's what I actually teach, which is like my main program, my main keynote talk, my workshop now is just I am principle, because I believe there's so many of us that never consciously decided who we truly are. Most of us just kind of evolve into, I guess I'm my job title, or I guess I'm just what I do for a living. I guess, but as far as consciously saying this is who you are, a lot of people haven't really done that kind of work and can really see who they really are. What is most important to you in your life, not what your dad told you you should do, not what you think you should do, but you consciously decided this. And that's what the I am process is really empowering people, so much so that, I've worked with clients so much that, they were lost, either empty nesters, their kids just went off to college, or they just recently got divorced, or, somebody died or something, and their life has changed and their identity is shook. Everything that I knew my life to be is now different. What do I do? How do I figure this out? And those have been the greatest clients that I've been working with, because this process gives them a roadmap on how to be who they truly want to be, to ultimately love and live their best life. And that's the I am mind map. I recommend everybody at least do that portion, because I don't care where you're at, Viv. If you're a millionaire, you're broke, if you're 15 years old or 75 years old, the clarity that an I am mind map will give you is extremely powerful, because you will be able to make decisions easier, because who I am and where I'm going. You'll be able to have their boundaries, like, no, this is not going to happen anymore. I'm not putting up with this bad behavior or things, because I'm clear on who I am and where I'm going. And it's just a quick short story, and I'll let you answer another question. But I have a 16-year-old daughter, And all my girls, I got 3 girls, and all of them have their own I am mind map. They go through this process. And my 60-year-old last year was talking about this boy named Andrew over and over again. And, I'm picking her up from school, and she just can't stop talking about this boy. And I'm like, la, 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 I don't want to hear that as her dad. But then about a few weeks went by, and she stopped talking about this boy. And I had to ask her, I was like, hey, what's up with Andrew? What's going on with that? She said, oh, Dad, I had to let him go. I was like, really? I was like, what happened? She's like, Dad, he did not fit on my I am mind map. I was like, yes. But that's the kind of power. That's just an example of what I've been dealing with
Wow.
clients when they really consciously, visually be able to see who they are and what the key components of their lives are. It gives them some power. It gives them confidence. It gives them the ability to walk through life with certainty of, this is who I am. This is where I'm going. This is what my life's about. So the vibration is different. The results are
Yeah.
different. They attract different experiences. So that's the key of the I am mind map that I hope you and your listeners will learn more about.
Thank you so much for breaking that down. Do you know what is so funny? I had like, let's say, 7 questions to ask about the mind map, the I am system, the I am anchors. You answered everything all
I
at
did.
once. Yes, you did. Yeah. So I just kept moving up. I was like, okay, that question is done. That question is done.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice, nice.
Thank you for
Yeah.
being in depth. And so let me tell you what I understand from this. And this is what I love, giving feedback. I enjoyed the fact that it's to organize your thoughts. It's to give
Mhm.
you clarity, because a lot of times people are caught up in the mental fog of thinking, ruminating. In fact, like I find that anytime I have like a podcast interview, it's really in line with where I am that day. So today
Mhm.
I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh gosh, how have I been able to function thinking about 3 different things at the same
Right.
time, juggling all of them? And I was like, wow, this is really adulting. I'm thinking about family. I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking about personal life. I'm thinking about everything else.
Yeah.
Wow. How have I been able to have all of this, in my
Right.
body? So one by one, things were clearing up. But you coming on here, you saying you don't have to have that fog. You can just put everything out there on paper. You can,
Yeah.
and it's nice to go down a rabbit hole of extending and looking
Yeah.
deeper into said issue. So I really like that. And then when you talked about the I am system, beautiful,
Mhm.
because a lot of times we do have labels
Yeah.
we attach to ourselves, and it's those labels that become our anchors, and they become like weights that drown us. But
Right.
you breaking down the I am system and then giving us wealth, health, happiness, success, and then asking us what that means to us, what that looks to us. Oh my goodness, I cannot even imagine what it's like for your daughters that are young and then have this kind of like space to actually define themselves before the world defines them. Because at that
Exactly.
age, as a teenager, you're 16. Oh my gosh, I remember when I was 16, like I
Mhm.
felt like I knew who I was, but I felt like people were right if they told me who I was, because you just grow up thinking other people are right about who you are.
Right.
But being able to break down the I am system and then defining who you are, especially when it comes to boundaries, where your standards are, what you're looking
Mm.
for, where you're headed, where you want to go, it
Mhm.
helps you to really look at your life and look at what doesn't align. And what I love so much is how life is really about shedding. You get to times when you're like, I'm letting this go. I'm letting this go. But having a mind map, a visual representation of who you are, is like coming back to the crime. No, it's like coming back to, when there's a crime scene and the FBI has like, not a crime scene, there's a case and the FBI has like a wall of images and
Right.
then all of that. It's like you're coming back to that for
And
you.
connecting it all.
Yes, and you're like, but it's about the puzzle of yourself. And you're just like, oh my goodness, it's an empowering system. So thank you so much for breaking it down for my listeners. I feel as though
Yeah.
for people that are going through like career burnouts, changes,
Mhm.
big
Right.
drastic things they didn't expect, this would be really helpful because it's not so
Huge.
complicated. It's all about putting it on paper and then logically applying how you
Mhm.
can make your life better. And I like
Yeah.
that you have the quote, live and love your best life. I'll come to it in one of my questions. But there's one thing I wanted to say or ask. What's one simple way someone could start their Mappineering journey today, even before they buy a fancy journal or software?
Yeah, you could just grab a piece of paper, right now. Just grab a piece of paper and a pen and just sit down and just grab it, put it landscape style, put in the middle I am. And just whatever starts coming to your mind, just dump it on your mind map. Don't overanalyze, don't overthink it. Just whatever comes to your mind about who you are, just put it on your mind map. Just don't even think about it. Just you get there. And now you're going to start to realize or see some things that you've been identifying yourself with,
Mm.
and there's a story that I have or that I'll share. There was a guy that named Dr. Ron Holman. He used to own the largest privately owned mental health insurance company in the country back in the early 2000s. And he was a neurolinguistic programming master, and
Oh, wow.
NLP, and I used to study NLP back in those days. And I was
Mm.
trying to find somebody I can learn from, and found out this guy was around the corner from my office. So I called him. He invited me over, and I was sitting in his office, waiting for him to come in. And this guy, I mean, it's a dynamic guy. He's like 6'5", bald head, white dude with earrings and rings all on his finger, traveled the world, Qigong diets, all this meditation. I mean, just a
Ooh.
dynamic guy. But he came in and when I first met him, he asked me one question for like 20 minutes. And that was, who are you? And I would say, "Oh, I'm John Diggs." He said, "Is that all?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, who are you?" And I was like, "Well, I'm John, I'm son of Betty and son of John Diggs the first." "Is that all?" "No." "Then who are you?" And he kept drilling this down to me. So I started running out of things to say. And what the ultimate point of that exercise that he was trying to teach me on the very first day I met him was that I am so much more than I identify myself with. For one,
Mm.
I'm so much more than those labels. For two, that most of those labels that I was putting down were very surfacey, that I
Mm.
was just, I'm son of my parents kind of deal. It was not in the core of who I am. I didn't have a clear definition of who I am and where I was about. And from that moment on, he started helping me understand the importance of identity, because we're going to only behave in alignment with who we believe we are. A lot of people are trying to make changes in their lives, but it's not in alignment with how they identify themselves. So those changes never last or stick. Some people say, I want to get in shape, but on the core of their identity is that, I'm an out of shape person, or
Mm.
I'm fat. I've been told I'm fat all my whole life. So I believe I'm a fat person, but now I want to get in shape. And you're only going to do what you believe your identity is. If you
Mm.
believe you are, he said, what did he say? He said, is there a difference between somebody who gambles and a gambler? And I was like, well, yeah, because somebody who gambles, that's just an activity they do. But a gambler is
Yes, the
somebody who
identity.
identifies with gambling, kind of deal. And you can do that with so many different things that, he really got me to really understand the importance of identity. So I encourage your listeners that if they go to that I am mind map, go through that exercise. Who are you? Is that all? Who are you? That all? Just keep asking it and see how many things you can put on your mind map, and start to look at that. Are you really those things? Are you more than those things? More
Yes.
than likely, you're more than everything you're going to put on that mind map.
Hmm.
And you have control to change all of that if you wanted to. To change everything you put in that mind map. And those are that would be the suggestion that I would have somebody right away, is to do that. I am in the center. And you can also use that 5 W's and H mind map for everything.
Yes.
Everything.
That's really
Who,
good.
what, when, where, why, and how, about anything. It could be a decision, it could be a problem, setting a goal, planning a trip, planning a vacation. Just put the vacation in the middle. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who's going with you? Who do you need to contact? Where you going? When you want to go? Why do you want to go? How you going to get? I mean, just the clarity of what you'll get by that process will ensure that you'll have a better trip or a better plan that you're trying to do. There's also one thing that I think that you said earlier about mind mapping. Um, is that I remember another mentor of mine telling me that, John, our brains are meant for processing, not data storage.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, when we get older, he was talking about in references in the journaling on how
Okay.
important it is to start journaling to get thoughts out of your mind and put it out there so you don't feel the need to have to store and remember so many different things. And I've had my mom start to do a lot of this mind mapping about a year ago because, especially as we get older, we have so many memories, so many thoughts that we're trying to hold on to and don't really realize it. And just like a regular computer, if it has too many files or too much, it loses storage and lures when RAM is gone, and it doesn't process well. It takes forever for programs to open. It takes forever for it to respond. And I believe our brains are very much the same way. Is that we have so much data in here that when it's time to make a decision or do something quick, our computer brain has to go through so much stuff to perform, to where if you started mind mapping regularly and exporting stuff out of your mind and putting it in a mind
Wow.
map, it's kind of like putting things on in the cloud or in a hard drive. Now it processes easier. It's because it's not feeling like it has to store a bunch of memories and stuff like that, which I think is another hidden jewel and benefit on mind mapping. Is just every day I debrief. I go to my mind map and I just put stuff in my mind map just to archive it out of my mind, which I know has been working well for me, because when things have to happen, I'm able to process a lot faster than most on what to do, just because my hard drive's clean,
Hmm.
if you will, if
Thank
that
you for
helps.
that answer. Thank you. Yes, that's really helpful. And I'm sure my listeners have taken all the tips. And this is really good because the main thing about this is that it's really distressing your mind, because I think
Hmm.
people underestimate the power of the mind. And I think I read somewhere, maybe it was even your profile, the way you can use 80% of your mind, or the entire percentage of your mind, because you've distressed, you've let go of things that are not that important. I'm
Right.
even curious to see what my mind will look like after doing this. So that's something I'll let you know when I'm
Yeah,
done.
please, please. It's
Yes.
so important to get those thoughts out of your mind. Every
Yes.
day, just let's release it. Hey, let me just put
Yes.
it in my hard drive. Let me put it on my little external drive. I know I can access it if I need to later, but I don't need to store this on my
Yeah.
main computer. And it helps with stress. It helps with overwhelm. When people feel overwhelmed and overloaded, is primarily because they just got so much stuff in here that a mind map would help you structure it and organize it in a way where you feel like, I don't have to hold on to so much data and information, all the time. I can release some of those thoughts that connect to some emotions that may not be serving me well. So that's
Yes.
another hidden jewel of mind
Yeah.
mapping.
Thank you for that. So you say live and love your best life. What does that look like for you right now?
Whew, yeah, I am totally doing that right now. I mean, that is just my ultimate goal, is to consciously choose what I need to do every day to love and live my best life. And right now it's great. My day job, I have a company that I'm building software for, and that's fun. I like that because I've been 15 years doing it, and I like the people that I work with, so that helps me a lot. My day job, they pay me great, so that even makes it better. But then, what really helps me is just being able to share my message, and build systems and courses and keynotes, and book more events that are coming up. I just booked 2 more speaking engagements for the rest of the
Ooh.
year, to where I'm just out sharing my message. And I'm a single dad, and my kids and I just got back from California, and and they're growing great. My middle daughter will be a sophomore at Arizona State University, and my
Mm.
youngest daughter is doing well. She's like the number 8 hurdler in the
Yeah.
state of
Wow.
Arizona. She's excited, and and it's just a conscious choice, and again, what my I am mind map has helped me do And again, it's the hidden jewel is that, you can really clarify what that means for you to love and live your best life. A lot of people say that, yeah, I want to love, I want to live my best life, but never really consciously decided or define what that truly is. For one, then secondly, they haven't really defined and clarified what needs to happen every day for them to achieve that. And that's what my mind map has done for me, is that I know that's my ultimate goal, but every day I know that, all right, exactly what I got to do. I got to get up and work out. I got to get my meditation in. I got to review, the key components of who I am and who I want to be throughout the day. And I'm so more committed to that than people are to disrupt my day, that it seems like I have like this repellent kind of deal now, where all those drama and all the people calling me with gossip and BS and all that, they don't even call me with that anymore. I don't deal with those situations, because I think it's just the energy and the vibration that I have and the commitment that I have to loving and living my best life, that I don't think I would have if I have not taken the time to really clarify that. What does that really mean? A lot of
Yeah.
people say that. I'm sure you heard it too. Yeah, I want to live my best life. Well, what needs to happen for that?
Mm.
Well, I just well, how are you going to live your best life if you haven't clearly defined what it is and created an action step on what you need to do to achieve it? And that's again, what an I am mind map will help people do. So that's how I'm living and loving my best life, is talking to wonderful people like you, and just howling at the moon trying to help other people. And I realize that the more I help others love life, the more I'm gonna love my life.
Oh, that's
So that's
beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I forgot to mention, so impressive that you've written 10 books. That's
yes,
amazing. That is, when did you
yeah.
start writing, and what do you love about writing?
This was in quarantine, like when COVID hit and we were 2020, and and we was all of us stuck inside of our house and staring at walls. That's when I said, you know what? I'm gonna start writing books. And I'm
Hmm.
going to start sharing this power of mind mapping with others. I think it's a very powerful tool that others need to know about, especially people in my community. And I'm going to be the one to do that. And I just started writing books, and all of my books are around various ways to mind map,
Hmm.
love life, blessed and grateful. Big Play Power is a book that I have that's been doing very well. That's strictly for student athletes. It's showing them how to mind map a perfect play, a perfect game, a perfect season, so they can start to really see what a perfect season will look like. So now they can start visualizing it before it happens.
Wow.
I got one called Mappineer College Years. It's strictly for college students to help them develop their I am mind map, so they can withstand all of those pressures and stuff that come at them in college as freshmen, and help them really have a tool to guide them through college, to prep them properly for their post college, the real world, if you will. Yeah, so I have various books about a whole bunch of stuff. They're all on Amazon, and it's just a lot of fun to sit down and clarify a particular point that I hope will impact someone somewhere at some time. And that's just my biggest juice. Out of all of the things that I've done, I played, as you said, professional football, and I've built $1 million companies before. All of those were fine, but they wasn't really, let me see, how can I say it? In some sense, they were in alignment with who I am. But what I'm doing now with sharing this message and talking about Mappineering and mind maps with people, it feels like God has touched me. That makes sense. Yeah. It
It
feels like
does.
I was doing those things for fun, but what I'm doing now is like, yeah, it's God's
Hmm.
work. It makes me
No.
feel good.
Thank you for
Sorry for the,
sharing that with me. No, it's fine. Thank you for sharing that. I can
yeah,
feel from what you said that you have changed lives, that you do touch lives. And even as you were speaking, I was like, I have to check out your your TED Talk. Sorry. I'm excited. Yes. Thank you for
yeah.
sharing your time with us. Thank you for
Oh,
being
yeah.
here. Thank you for
Thank
changing
you for
our
having me.
lives. Thank you for impacting us.
Thank you for having me, and I'm here to help anyone. This is just my mission in life. So if
Oh,
anybody has any questions, reach out to me. I'd love to help you in any way I possibly can.
oh, thank you. Now, John Diggs just reminded us that our minds already have the blueprint. We just need the right map. If today's episode lit a spark in you, take your next bold step by visiting johndiggs.com/I am. There you'll find everything you need to begin your own I am system journey, one that's designed to help you unlock your full potential, define who you truly are, and create the life you want to live, not the one you're stuck in. And of course,
Yeah.
follow John on social media and dive deeper into Mappineering because your future deserves a plan that feels like you. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Viv.
My pleasure. Bye, listeners. Till next time.